going to be one of those nights. It's internet's a bit slow, so I might be a bit delayed, and I think some of the guys are as well who's going to join us. So quickly from me. First of all, we say our condolences for the death of Kevin Keegan, who passed away today. Brilliant player. Liverpool used to be my childhood team, as well as Swindon. So condolences to Kevin Keegan's family and friends. Women, I went to the friendly with West Bromwich Albion yesterday at Foundation Park. Women had a hard game. West Brom were very good, but Swindon women came away with a 2-1 win, which was fantastic. Membership and Matchday Draw subscriptions are still available, so go on to our website if you would like to become a member. This year, all season ticket holders do have to apply for membership, either pay £5 or if you were a member before we went. Right, okay, apparently you can't hear me, but everything seems fine. Let's get everybody on and then I can sort this out. Hiya, Vic.
Chris, I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you at the moment for some bizarre reason. But there seems to be a problem with the speech, so I can't hear you. But if you can hear me, that's fine. I'll just continue with what I have to say. If you want to put your thumbs up, lovely. You can hear me. Okay. Right. Well, we've got some birthday news, actually, not only from the football club, but somewhere else as well. We'll get to that in a minute. But there's a reason why Archie Bown was included in that introduction. We put him in last week, but we didn't actually get to this. And it comes from Andrew Griffiths, who says, my first cousin, once removed, my grandfather's brother's son, he was born on the 22nd of July, 1882 in 12 Regent Street in Swindon. Archie's sporting exploits included playing alongside Harold Fleming, Swindon Town's only full English international footballer, in 2 FA Cup semi-finals, the Dubonnet Cup, and a Charity Shield against Manchester United. He also played professional football for Bristol City, Whiteheads, Dorset and Southampton as a Walltown guest, and latterly as a player coach at Weymouth, as well as playing county-level cricket for Dorset and bowls for Weymouth. His own England career was disrupted by the First World War, having played in trials matches. He retired to Weymouth, where he opened a sports outfitters shop. He passed away on the 19th of August 1958 in the Royal South Hants Hospital at age 76 years. Interestingly, he and Harold Fleming both opened sports shops, repeated in later years by Don Rogers. Archie remains Swindon Town's 5th highest goal scorer, including 6 goals in a win over Watford. So well remembered, and thank you very much indeed for that lovely piece of information from Andrew. Also, Martin Ling's birthday last week, and also somebody called Chris Kyle, whose birthday I believe is tomorrow. So a very happy birthday, Chris. We wish you all the very best, and I know you've had a lovely day today, so I hope it continues tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
And now I can't hear a word you say, so there we go.
Thank you very much. Right, everybody else can hear me, Vic, so you can't, but so I don't know what's going on. But I'm just going to bring the others on, and then because if Vic can't hear me, then he'll just carry on. So let me bring the others on. So tonight we have Mr. Saunders, eventually. Come on. Okay. We are not. Right. Is that Dave on there already? Okay. Apologies for this. It keeps coming up. Right. Let's see if we can add Rob and Dave. They should be okay. So we've got Rob and Dave.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because I can't hear any of you. So what I'm going to do is I'll log off and log back on again. I think that's probably the best thing to do. So bear with me. I'll do that very thing in just a moment. I'll be back with you. Hang on a second.
Okie dokie. Yeah, I'm having trouble bringing people on as well. So just bear with us a moment.
Should we do our own thing, Chris?
There's Rob. So we've got Rob. No, Vic's gone. Oh.
Evening, Tony.
Apologies for this. It's not playing the game. So,
Chris, I've been looking at the comments and they're asking me to give us a song. So I'm going to sing a
me
rendition of the Argentinian national anthem, because everybody will enjoy that.
When then thing goes wrong, everything seems to go wrong. So. Right, we have a slight problem. I can't get anybody to add to the stage. Let's just see.
Hooray.
Right. Okay, so according to my, you should all be on the stage. Can anybody hear me? Ah, there we go.
We can all hear you, Chris.
I can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's going really mad at the moment. See if I can bring Vic back on. And Gus is here Gus was, and Vic was. So, okay. So we haven't got those at the moment. So then, what do we think about the World Cup? Start with England first.
Sack the manager.
We have Wednesday night. Right. So we had Wednesday night, Chris. The semi. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was such a shame because we had we turned up in the last half hour against Argentina, everybody would have had a much more entertaining night last night than what we had to be to sit through again in that World Cup final. So unfortunately, it wasn't to be.
Hello, can you hear me?
No, and as I said earlier, I didn't actually watch it, but the comments that I've seen, I wasn't there. Right, I'll leave you with Vic then, and I'm off. I think Vic, Gus is trying his best to get in there, so I will bring him on when I can.
Okay, Chris, thank you. Thank you. I don't know whether you have done already, but we ought to pay tribute to the great Kevin Keegan. You probably have done too already, but very sad loss today. The former Newcastle player, of course, Liverpool player, but also very close to becoming a Swindon Town player back in the 1970s. Those of you who are at the County Ground when we played Scunthorpe in the FA Cup way back in 1970 would have seen Kevin Keegan play for the Iron. And Swindon had a chance of buying him for the little matter of 30,000 quid, but they declined because he was too small. So one of England's greatest ever footballers could have played for Swindon Town. Hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles. But obviously a wonderful player and a wonderful character too. Very nice gentleman. So I'm sure we'll all miss Kevin Keegan. What a great man he was. Right, let's get on to the World Cup. I'm sure you've already started to talk about the World Cup finals, Rob. I know this is probably repeating what you've already said, but your view of last night's match?
Well, the final as a spectacle was horrendous, wasn't it? Let's be honest. I think Wayne Rooney probably summed it up better than everybody else with his summary of the halftime show. But more important to all of us was the quality of the football and the standard of the final. And unfortunately, only one team in that final decided to turn up and play football. The other was a team of thugs. unfortunately, and shouldn't have been anywhere near the final. And had England turned up for the last half hour of the semi-final, Argentina wouldn't have been there either. So, unfortunately, our loss was everybody in the world's loss when they had to sit through that turgid 120 minutes of Argentinians trying to kick each other, or certainly kick the Spaniards anyway. And obviously, what happened after the final whistle was an absolute disgrace. But at least from a footballing point of view, the right country won. And that, I guess, is all that we should focus on. Congratulations, Spain. They thoroughly deserve to win the World Cup.
I'm really sorry, but I've lost sound again for some reason, and I don't understand why.
Well, we'll carry on, Vic.
So I've got it on full volume, but the technology is defeating me tonight. So, Dave, I will ask you your opinion. I will log out and I'll log back in again and see what happens. I do apologise for this, but the technology is not working. So we'll do it again. Dave, if you'd like to give your view, having not only watched it in the States, of course, because you've recently moved back to the United Kingdom in the last few days or so, what's it been like watching it in the United States, and then suddenly what's it like watching it back here, back in good old Blighty? So if you'd like to talk about that, I'll come back to you as soon as I can.
Yeah, evening everybody. I think obviously the time difference. I mean, when it was delayed, the England-Mexico game, it was still only 9 o'clock in the evening where I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So the time difference has been amazing that you guys have had to put up with that, and those late games when you're 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's been the biggest difference for me, coming back into the United Kingdom and watching those games. In terms of the final yesterday, I think the other thing to say about Argentina was they were basically not using the best player in the world with their tactics, because there was no way. I mean, Messi was just stood up front. Now, obviously, when he played against England, he was fully involved. But last night, what were they doing? They didn't even use him. They didn't get in the ball because they were more, as Rob said, more interested in trying to be physical and aggressive with the opposition, who I thought played really, really, really well as a team. And I'm so glad and thankful, not just because it was Argentina beating England, but the best team in supposedly the best game in the world came out on top. And well done to them, 1-0. I'm really pleased for Spain.
What's the difference in the atmosphere, Dave, between watching it over there and watching it here, would you say?
Well, obviously with England still in the competition, as soon as I came in, we flew in on the 10th of July. With England still in the competition, you could see it everywhere in England, with flags and pubs and everything. Whereas, being in the States, I wasn't with a load of England fans, although I did watch the game with Englishmen in the pub, which was great in Tulsa. But yeah, the fervour for England, that you always get here, and I tried to explain that to my friends back in the States, that as soon as I go back, everybody's going to be ready and watching that game. I mean, even my sister, who grew up not liking football, me and my two brothers, she was really into it. She was telling me all about who was playing well and who wasn't playing well for England. So, that would be the main thing, Vic, is all the fans and we all want it so much, don't we? And we came third, but we all want to see them lift the trophy, in our lifetimes, don't we?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Those of us who are getting on a bit would love that. I mean, third, Phil, the best performance since 1966. And that game on Saturday night was completely bonkers, wasn't it? I mean, if ever you wanted to see a football match, it reminded me of the Swindon-Sheffield United game at the County Ground. It was just crazy. What was your overall impression of the World Cup final, etc.?
World Cup final was a tragedy because it's meant to be an advert for football, especially in the States. And there was no football. Spain were trying to play the football. They were just getting smashed all the time. But it did highlight for me, I think, overall, the refereeing in the competition was of a poor standard. And a good referee would have got a grip of the Argentinians very early in the game and taken severe action, including sending offs early on, because they were hell-bent on just trying to kick the Spanish, weren't they? And I think Messi was hiding out the way, really, wasn't he? Because he didn't want to get smashed by them.
No, he kind of disappeared a bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
You want to see the world's best player play well, but he kind of kept out of the way.
But but having watched the England-France game the night before, there was, flowing football from both sides, not so great defending, but it was fast flowing, entertaining football. And it did remind me of Sheffield United because I lost count again.
Yes.
In this win, the Sheffield United game.
Yes. I mean, for those that were at the county ground that night, finished 5-5. It was just a mad game of football. And I did laugh when the commentator asked Danny Murphy what the score was because he'd lost track. I think we were all like that, especially like 10 to midnight at night. Right. One or two comments coming in. Argentina were disgraceful, says Tony Goff. They also played England at rugby, of course, over the weekend. Tony says, Holloway for England manager. And also, any news on tickets for Cardiff and Northampton? We'll ask Chris about that a little later on. Lots of people could hear me, but I couldn't hear anybody else. So that's hopefully all is well now. Right. Should we get onto the thorny subject of A, the build-up, Rob, and B, the halftime show? Now, what were your views on that?
Well, let's be honest, before the tournament started, we knew that the Americans would do something just a little bit different when it came to the World Cup final because they want the publicity and they want to showcase everything that they feel is good about their country. I'm afraid, from a footballing sense, halftime shows are an absolute no-no. And before the game, don't have a problem with it. I have to say, if you want to get people in an hour before the kickoff and have a proper show before the game starts, not a problem at all for that. But don't try and do it in the middle of a game of football. That was madness. I mean, they had to have effectively a warm-up again, didn't they, before the second half started because the players had been off the pitch for so long. That was really, even if you didn't particularly, or even if you did take to the artists that were performing, which didn't particularly appeal to me, I have to say, I think Wayne Rooney summed it up pretty much perfectly, really, with his comment, didn't he? And I think, was it somebody else said that the Muppets were the star shows, bearing in mind it was the Americans that were doing it. So I think that sums it up perfectly. None of us who want to watch football want to watch that at halftime, I have to say.
A message from Gus. He's in the mountains on the Ohio, West Virginia border. I just don't have the reception to make it work. It looks like you've got plenty of guests. All the best. Well, we wish you all the best, Gus. Obviously, it would have loved you to have had you on tonight, but we wish you well on your travels. A 2,000-mile road trip. You're used to this, Dave, aren't you? I mean, that's kind of what is down the road, really. But you're back then in Blighty. And from your American perspective, did you expect it to be like that, the halftime show and the build-up? Or were you like the rest of us thinking, what's happened to the football then?
I think I said, if you look back at previous episodes when you had me on earlier on, Vic, several weeks ago, there were two things I wanted to quickly actually just address. I think the refereeing was really good at the beginning and they were looking at things and it was great. And for some reason, and we know it happened in the Argentina-England game, there were things missed. They weren't going to VAR. And I think it progressively got worse. And I think it was there was lots that should have been looked at in the final. To your question, it's a very American thing to have, because of American football. As we all know, the Super Bowl, they have the halftime show, they pull out all the stops, and it is absolutely incredible. It really is. The last Super Bowl halftime show, absolutely incredible. But we all love this game, and it just does not go with our game of football, our beloved game of football. It's a 15-minute break. It used to be 10, as we said in previous weeks. Now it's 15. Those players, and I said it a few weeks ago, that is not what top players at the top of their profession need, is a 25-minute break or whatever it turned into. So no, for me, I didn't enjoy it at all. I think I agree with Rooney. There's no place, and thankfully, hopefully at the next World Cup or when the Euros come in 2028 to our shores, we won't have anything like that. Let's not do it again.
No, I mean, I did feel for the players because they're sitting in the dressing room for effectively half an hour, aren't they? And, we've all played football at varying levels, but, you kind of, when you're in a halftime, you stiffen up, don't you? So there's a lot of work needs to be done by physios, etc., to keep them supple and ready for the second half. Mind you, the second half of the game was so bad. I wonder whether they actually did supple them up for that second 45 minutes. And FIFA's stance has always been that football is the same game, whether it be the World Cup final or, to go locally, the games played on Pen Hill Rec. But Dave, to be honest, you didn't see much of that yesterday, did you?
In terms of what? Sorry, Vic, I didn't quite understand.
It's a 90-minute game. It flows. You have a break and you get on with it,
Yeah, absolutely. It's a game of 2:45s. I mean, it's not that many years that we see sort of double figures on the board now at the end of the first half. I mean, it used to be 45 plus a couple, and then you got on with it, had a cup of tea or whatever, slice of orange, going back in the day. And then you got on with the second half. And this was just too much. It was too much. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. It is not good for those players. As you said, they were probably on bikes or whatever they do now, trying to just pass the time, quite frankly, because as a coach, those managers, I mean, there's only so much you can say, isn't there? And you don't want your players hanging around in there, waiting till some halftime show is finished and then get back out there for the second half. So FIFA, if they're saying that from grassroots right up, then do it. Don't let this become a habit. We already have those hydration breaks, which had boos from the crowd every single time because they weren't needed because they were playing in air-conditioned stadiums. So it was all a bit bizarre, wasn't it? Go back to 45 and 45.
Yeah. Let me read you this from George. He says, I have it on good authority that all EFL games next season will start with a 10-0 countdown. And if anything less than 75% of the home crowd take part, then the home team will automatically start with a 1-goal deficit. I like these positive measures to open up the game, says George. Phil, he said it with tongue in cheek, didn't he? But to be honest, you wouldn't be surprised, would you?
What I am worried is that hydration breaks will become part of English football. Because, we've had it last year with goalkeepers going down injured, so say, regularly in order for the coaches to have their say. And I just fear that, especially with TV involved, that they will see that's another opportunity for money making.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Got some messages here. Hi, Glenn. Glad Argentina lost at FIFA. Lost. Well done, Spain. Dave says, tonight on Who Has the Biggest Room on a live chat show, we have Dave Saunders. Piano in the background in Dave's house. Well, Rob beat that, and Phil. We should explain you've moved over from the United States back to good old England, and well done on getting all that on the plane. You did very well on that. That's an extraordinary achievement.
Piano was tough on my own, I can assure you.
Getting up those air stairs, that must have been quite a job, mustn't it?
Yes. Baggage.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've been on Ryanair, other companies are available. That'd cost quite a bit of money. Let's have a look. Hi, John. Two things to say tonight. I paid £100 to watch some cricket on Saturday, an exercise that will not be repeated. Secondly, I note that Dave is back in the UK, but he appears to have shipped his sofa and piano back with him. So there we are. More comments about your room. And the cricket on Saturday, for those of us of Somerset persuasion, very disappointing. Yes, I went to Edgbaston. Anyway, let's move on swiftly. Refereeing, Rob, I must admit, there was that tackle in the first half, which McAllister made, which it didn't get a yellow card. To me, could easily have been a red. It was a nasty old tackle, wouldn't it?
Oh, there was several. When you go back through the tournament, Dave summed it up pretty well, actually, because I think if you go back to the group games in this World Cup, I was really impressed by the standard of refereeing. In fact, it probably exceeded my expectations in terms of what we were actually likely to get. But as soon as the knockout games have started, the controversies have started, and the teams that didn't particularly want to play football, unfortunately for England, have been protected over the teams that did want to play football. Because if I go back to open up the old wounds of Wednesday night, if anyone can tell me that Elliot Anderson's, the assault on him in the first 5 minutes by Fernandez was not a red card, then I'm afraid I've been watching the wrong game for the best part of 60 years. There's no doubt in my mind that Argentina should have been down to 10 men in less than 5 minutes against England, and suddenly that game becomes a completely different game. And that set the standard for the refereeing during that game. And the refereeing in the final, I get the fact that he was trying to, and I'm sure was given the edict, try and let the game flow. Don't get your cards out too early. We want this to be a spectacle, and we want the footballers to play football. It backfired on him completely, absolutely backfired on him. Because as soon as he let the Argentinians get away with one, then they're coming back for the rest of the game. The one thing that really annoyed me, and has annoyed me throughout watching the Argentinians throughout this World Cup, is I thought there was an edict that you couldn't surround referees anymore as players, and that it was only the captain that was supposed to be allowed to speak to referees. And they were haranguing the referees in the last 3 games they played. They did it against Egypt, they did it against us, and they did it against Spain. And not one thing was done about it. And they were the only country I noticed that did it most of the time. Most other countries, if they had a complaint, went through their captain. Not Argentina. Everybody was around the referee. And I thought that was a complete disgrace.
Yeah, the one thing I would say, there was also the horrendous tackle which led to the sending off of Hernandez, who was surrounding. That incident kind of reminded me of Antonio Ratan in 1966. I thought it was going to be a carbon copy of it, because Davey refused to go off, didn't he? And I think, well, what are you actually moaning about? Because to be honest, it was a dreadful tackle, and he'd already been booked for dissent. What was his argument?
Yeah, I think if I read it right, I think he was going to say, "Oh, you need to look at that on VAR." But I might have got that wrong. But yeah, he deserved to go. And I say again, some of the refereeing at the beginning, wasn't it refreshing when there was what was the new rule when you don't take the throw in quick enough?
5 seconds,
5 seconds, and all that has been really, really good. But it just like Rob said, when we got to the knockout stage, for some reason, the refereeing they just weren't on top of it. And we, of course, we're bitter because we lost, but we do feel a little bit cheated. And I think they need to get on top of that and look maybe post World Cup and say, was there a fair play award this time? I didn't hear anything about that. I don't know if there is, but have we had that in the past?
I think Trump won that, didn't he? Didn't Trump win that?
But I was just a bit disappointed, and I was so thrilled for that referee as well, because I don't know if you saw the bit on social media about when he was actually picked from a room full of referees, and he was totally honoured and broke down and cried. So I really wanted him to have a good game, but I was going to make the point as well. What happened to this? Speaking through the captain, because they were surrounding that poor referee, both sides, and that's not fair. That's not on.
No. Hi, Carol. Please never give the World Cup to the Americans ever again. We do not need half. Oh, hang on. That didn't really. We do not need half time. We don't need 10-second countdowns to kick off. We don't need music blaring on the hydration breaks. Half of them weren't needed. Stop ruining the beautiful game. Kevin says, I can't wait for the season starting in decent League 2 football. Hi, Fools Rush In. Fifey with you at 9 o'clock. There was so much great about this World Cup. Moments and memories. Just the Americanization of it was a letdown. What about that point, Phil? I mean, I really enjoyed most of it. I thought, this is a decent World Cup. I still go back to Curacao with that equaliser against Germany, one of the great moments of World Cup football. As a tournament, it was half decent, wasn't it?
Well, I think that most games were competitive, weren't they? We didn't have any, pointless games at all, really. It was competitive and, on the whole, played in a good spirit. I had the privilege of being in Germany the weekend after they got knocked out. So I quite enjoyed asking what's the football like. Especially I was in Freiburg, who got beaten by Villa in the Conference League Cup final or whatever earlier in the year. So I was on difficult ground there. But no, it's for a 48 team competition, it was far better than I thought it might be. I thought we'd get a lot more dead rubbers, as it were, and the smaller teams really made it, didn't they, with their performances? Cape Verde, Curacao. It's like the FA Cup, really, wasn't it?
It was.
So there was that side to it, and it's interesting to see that football standards are leveling up, and because the African sides, in the past, most African sides were a bit pretty at times, but very disorganized. And whereas now, I felt Senegal could have gone right through to the semi-final. They were a very, very good side. So, it's leveling up, and that's good for competition.
Yeah, it is. Hi, Mark. The referee's report and for VAR, what a joke. A few players should have been sent off over the tournament. Again, Fifey, I'm not a subscriber to conspiracy theories, but I heard a stat that England get a card every 7 fouls. Argentina 1 every 22. And then says Trump won the FIFA Humanitarian Award a couple of months before bombing Iran. And we remember that trophy, don't we, when he was awarded it at the draw. It was bigger than the World Cup itself. It was extraordinary. Hi, Adrian. Please don't blame the ref for Tuchel's technically inept substitutions. I think that's fair. Don't you, Rob? I mean, we could blame the referee for defeat against Argentina, but at the end of the day, we sat back too much, didn't we?
No, the defeat against Argentina is down to Thomas Tuchel's tactics. Of that, there's absolutely no doubt whatsoever. I've got a lot of time for the way that he set his team up to start with, and the way that we'd taken on Argentina in the first half gave us the opportunity to get ourselves in front in the second. But we've seen it so many times, haven't we? When we've been watching Swindon, you sit back at your peril, and if you try and sit back for best part of 35 minutes, which plus the stoppage time turned into best part of 40 minutes, 45 minutes, then you're just asking for trouble. And there was no outball. He'd taken all the forwards off, and he was playing Kane effectively at the front of the edge of the D. It was just the most bizarre attempt to try and hang on to a 1-goal lead. I just simply couldn't understand his tactics. And if only he had played at least one fast forward that we'd seen on Saturday's game, the game against France, where we were literally attacking from all angles for most of the game. Just leave one of those players upfield, and at least 2 or 3 of those long punts out of defence are going to find the Argentinians short at the back, and potentially you could catch them on the break. We had no opportunity to do that. His tactics were absolutely baffling. And now we've had a couple of days to digest it. We're tempered a little bit, I guess, by the fact that it's our best finish since 1966. But I'm still extremely angry about that last half hour, because I do think his tactics has cost us a place in the final.
Dave, I know you're of an Exeter City persuasion, so I'm going to mention 2 words to you. Ollie Watkins.
I was crying out for Ollie Watkins, not just because he grew up in Exeter or Newton Abbot, but we needed somebody on there with Harry Kane. And what about Saka? Where was Saka? You know, Rob summed it up brilliantly. I said, Vic, again on this show, that we have this habit. We've done it for years and years and years. We get this 1 goal, and then for some reason we do not go for the second. And I really think it's easy to say now, isn't it? But if we'd really gone for it and got that second goal, we could have been in the final. And yes, I can have some sympathy, I guess, that he was trying to shut up shop. But even having 5 across the back, the crosses were still coming in. So where were the left and right wing backs, or whatever you wanted to call them? Messi was still getting that ball in, went round 2. So got it wrong. I think we should stick with him. I might be controversial, but I think he's taken us, quite a long way and built on what Southgate did. But yeah, I'm like Rob. I'm very, very upset that we were not in that final, and we had that game right there for the taking.
Phil, I mean, we are making progress, I suppose you could say, because, you know, those of us who are longer in the tooth remember the 70s and the 80s when, quite frankly, we were abysmal, weren't we? And didn't qualify for anything, let alone World Cups. So I suppose we are making progress. And if you're a young England fan, you'll have seen 2 World Cup semi-finals, 2 European finals, goodness knows what else, you know. So he has made progress, or England have made progress. Is that fair to say?
England have been on an upward trajectory for probably 10, 12 years now. But it's that killer punch, isn't it, that we lacked. And as Dave said, I come from Exeter, and Ollie Watkins, I was screaming for him because against Argentina, at that stage of the game, they would have been scared stiff of him breaking through, and they would have pulled him down, and there would have been a sending off if he didn't get through to score. Mm-hmm. But it was, when you're trying to defend, you've got to have pace to break out of the defensive thing. Swindon have found that this last season, at times we lacked pace to break out from defence. And Watkins or Rashford or Sacco would have really, as they pushed forward, they would have kept hitting them on the break and forcing them back.
Mm. Yeah, hi Richard. It was too expensive for normal people to go to the World Cup. The price is very ridiculous. You wait until it goes to 64 teams. Complete cock up coming. We'll discuss that in a minute. We will get onto domestic football before the end of this, but we're just drawing a veil over another World Cup. Stephen says football is about the fans. We'll never forget what the fans of Norway brought to the competition. And I've got to say, Rob, that was undoubtedly one of the highlights, wasn't it? The Viking row. I mean, what a sight that was. That was extraordinary.
Seems to be a Scandinavian thing, doesn't it? Because we all remember Iceland and the clap that they did in the Euros as well. And it's one of those things that it seems to be that all of the Scandinavian teams seem to have their own way of being able to rev up their own fans and their own players. But no, you're absolutely right, Vic. The Norwegians supporters in this competition, that was just a sight to behold, wasn't it? It was a spectacle in itself. And if you'd have done that at halftime for the halftime show, in the
we would have been happy with that, wouldn't we?
It would have been cheaper as well.
Yeah. I mean, I did feel for Ronaldo and Ronaldinho, who kind of were either side of Madonna thinking, what are we doing here? I mean, Ronaldo had that really inane grin on his face as if to think, what's this? What's going on? That's the original Ronaldo, obviously, not the present one. I mean, the fans, Dave, they were extraordinary, weren't they? And they pay so much money to go from one side of the country to another side of the country, to Mexico, all over the shop.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point was just mentioned there. And, I was living in America and I thought, great, at last I can go and see a World Cup in my lifetime. I couldn't get anywhere near a ticket because they were too expensive and I refused to pay the price. When you're paying late hundreds to 1,000 to 1,500 to watch one game of football, albeit it might have been England, then I didn't want to do it. And it was only a mere 4 hours down the road in Dallas for me. And I could have been there, but I just didn't want to pay those prices. What I would say is, and I don't know if it came across in the media here, but certainly when Mexico played England, and England obviously won in Mexico, the Mexican fans were absolutely outstanding. And they were applauding the England fans. They were dancing with the England fans. And there was a really good party atmosphere after that game. Mexicans are absolutely fanatical about the game of football. And, I feared for them when they lost to England that things would go really, they would lose interest in the competition. I don't know if they did or not. But what I would say, post-game, from all of the videos, social media I've seen, it was a really good party atmosphere.
Yeah. Another point, actually, I thought about, if you are a minute or two late kicking off in the Football League, you get fined a huge amount of money. Do you think FIFA will find themselves a few quid for delaying the start of the World Cup final yesterday? Don't think so, do you? The best finish rubbish is an absolute nonsense, in my opinion. Honestly, beating France has glossed over a multitude of sins. Steve McMahon today said on TalkSport the third and fourth both got bronze medals. He still has his in the attic. We've done nothing that Sir Gareth didn't do. Job description failed. Hi, Peter. Tuchel said he didn't instruct the players to sit back. They did it themselves after scoring. Tuchel's substitutions were managing that rather than trying to change that by bringing on some pace. in hindsight, maybe he should have taken Kane off. Scotland fans in Boston were fun too. German sax player was class. Dutch fans are amazing. Will the town do it this year? It was nice to see you at Chippenham. Well, yeah, Richard, it was lovely to catch up with you after the game. We'll get onto that in a minute. Phil, let's try and sort of draw a veil over the World Cup of 2027. What's your memory? What's your great memories from? I mean, obviously England's run and the increasing hype as we got further and further in the competition. You know what it's like in this country. But what's your great memory?
I think it's an overall memory, as I said earlier, of the smaller teams giving the big teams a good run for their money. And that is real cup football that we're used to in this country with the FA Cup. And I think that really made the atmosphere, I think, because a lot of people I know who are not that much into football, they were taking interest at the Carrasco and so on, how they were doing. And it was just catching people, you know, that this is good, sport should be, you know, David and Goliath playing each other and sometimes David winning, you know, that really improved the atmosphere. Just want to pick up on Dave about the Mexicans. I had the privilege of being at Wembley in 1966 when England played Mexico and Bobby Charlton scored. And those days, fans were all mixed together. And I had two Mexicans in front of me with massive sombreros who, when Charlton scored the greatest goal ever at Wembley, they stood up and I couldn't see a thing because these sombreros were there. They were cheering Charlton's goal.
When you say the greatest goal ever, do you mean Don Rogers' third against Arsenal? I was just going to chuck that one in on the back of it. Right, let's have a look. Greetings from the top of the Jalebier, awaiting Saturday's Tour de France stage, flying a Swindon flag from the van. Darren, how fantastic. What a great place to be. I think Vingegaard is out because of injury now, isn't he? So Pogačar is sort of seemingly on his way. But from the Galibier, one of the great stages of the Tour de France. So fantastic. Have a wonderful time. I'm sure you will. England missed a great opportunity, but fair play to Spain. I think it's 38 games without a loss conceded. One goal in the whole competition, deserved to win it. I'm so glad they did. Argentina were absolutely disgraceful. 0 shots in the final and 0 on target, Rob. I mean, it's the most one-sided game you could ever possibly wish to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can only assume that Argentina were playing for penalties from the moment they came out of the changing rooms.
Yeah.
Because of the way that the whole game sort of evolved. There was that one fleeting opportunity in the very early stages, wasn't it, when Messi was away and the Spanish goalkeeper for some reason was deciding to go and see his bench at the time. So he was so far out of his goal, he managed to clear it. And then there was one shot at the very end, wasn't it, when the Spanish had dropped deep, which our old friend Simeone Jr. this time, rather than Simeone Sr., decided to smash over the top of the crossbar. Must be interesting to see the way that Simeone Sr. decided to train Simeone Jr. when he was a youngster, mustn't it? Because he's got all the dark arts in the world. So he obviously never showed him how to trap a football. He just showed him how to kick people. But that's I suppose, in its own way, symbolic, I guess, of the way that Argentina wanted to play their football, isn't it? And that, I think Dave said it very early in the show, you've got the best player in the world in your team and you play a brand of football where they don't actually give him the ball in 120 minutes to have a real opportunity. I mean, let's be honest, we can shout till we're blue in the face about the Argentinian tactics, but if I were Lionel Messi at this moment in time, I would think that in what's probably my last ever really big game, I've been let down by my entire team because they simply have not played the way that I can show my skills to the world. And on such a big stage, you can argue whichever way you want to. Argentina made the final, and that was made for Messi to go out on a real high and show his skills to the world. And his teammates let him down.
Well, that was the fairy tale, wasn't it? Messi goes out with back-to-back World Cups. A la Pele. I mean, the man was obviously distraught at the end, but stayed away from all the kerfuffle. And I also note that the Argentinians turned their back on the Spaniards when they were getting the World Cup trophy, which
Disgraceful.
Come on, sportsmanship, mate. This is John again to draw another parallel with the cricket. Not happy, is he? The constant attempts to wind up the crowd with unspontaneous Viking clapping and free 10 bob t-shirts. We were too high to get a t-shirt, John. Very annoyed. Being chucked at you every 10 minutes detracted from the event. Half-time is for getting a bovril and having a wee, not to see two fat blokes, pot kettle black, you could say, driving a jeep around the ground. Yes, go back to Ronaldinho and Ronaldo, who still, the look on his face was priceless. If you haven't seen a picture of him on one side of Madonna and Ronaldinho on the other, you really should. I mean, somebody said Madonna with two Teletubbies, which is perfect. So your memory, your best moment, Dave, of the whole thing, what would you say?
Well, yeah, apart from the obvious, let's it escaped me who Spain played in their first game. It was 0-0, wasn't it? And
Cape Verde.
Yeah. And Spain are no good. They're not going to win it. And here they are winning it. Honestly, this is a bit of a boring one, but I think the way that Spain took care of France in the semi-final, I thought was absolutely tactical genius, outstanding, and that's one of my highlights, honestly, because everybody had France down, didn't they, with Mbappe to be in the final. But I think the way that Spain, with, I have to say, no stars, I don't think they're a bit like England. I don't think, you could probably say Bellingham and Kane, okay, but I don't think Spain had any particular stars, and they've played as a team, and I think the overall best team has won the World Cup. And for me, I think that will be a highlight for me, particularly the way they took down France in the semis.
Yeah, I kind of have to say I did kind of tip Spain right from the beginning. Rob, what was your main memory?
Well, I was going to say the Cape Verde goalkeeper in that game, because that truly was.
It was extraordinary. Yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
And there are moments that will always stand in your mind in the World Cup. And there's two Dan Burn headers in a quarter-final and a semi-final, which will absolutely live with me for the last 16 in the quarter-final, not the semi-final.
Yeah.
They will live with me for a long, long time, I have to say. And again, if you look around the tournament, there were moments of real quality, weren't there? And it's those moments you want to remember rather than what we had to experience last night and through the semi-final. And I guess it's that classic phrase of time being a great healer, isn't it? At the moment, everything's still a bit painful, a bit raw and a bit sore. So you struggle to see the good in what was happening, in what was overall a very, very good competition. It's just unfortunate that our memories at the moment are tainted a little bit by what's happened with the Argentinians.
When you say pain is a great healer, I still haven't got over Wolves' defeat of Swindon in the League Cup semi-final of 1980. So
I haven't.
No,
I didn't say it healed everything.
Paul Bradshaw's foul on Alan Mays, who will ever forget it. Steve Clary said Mbappe should not have got the golden boot due to scoring 2 goals against England when theoretically they were eliminated. Thoughts? Dave, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you could say it was a nothing game, but then it was still a World Cup game. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've always not been a fan of the third place playoff, to be honest. I mean, nobody really wants to play in it. Okay, England got themselves out. It was a very entertaining game, 6-4. But as we said earlier on, the defending wasn't the best. No, I think he's played in a World Cup game. The rules are there. He's scored a couple of goals. Fair play. And he was one of the best goal scorers, wasn't he, in the whole competition? And some of the goals he scored and his movement was just incredible. So I think fair play, give it to him. But I'm not a huge fan of coming third or fourth. Bit of a nothing game, isn't it? But we could all say we all enjoyed that game more than we did the final. So there you go. When the pressure's off a little bit.
The interviewer asked Saka about a question, and at the end of it, she said, "Well, it's a medal, isn't it?" And he went, I mean, third place, you get a medal. As somebody once said about silver medals, Phil, it's the first place of the losers. I mean, I'm not necessarily along with that, but what are your thoughts about that then? Should Mbappe have got those 2 goals added on to his golden boot?
It was an official World Cup game, so they all, count. And, the semi-final, third, fourth place final, they're part of the World Cup competition. So you can't say they're not World Cup goals if it's in the actual competition.
Should they have counted, Rob?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. FIFA rules. I mean, as much as we might not like what FIFA rules. They are FIFA's rules, and the game is a part of the competition. So it would be very interesting to see Steve Claridge's sentences there if Harry Kane had scored a hat-trick in that third and fourth place playoff or won the Golden Boot. Would he have said the same thing then?
So next one, I think, is spread over half the world, isn't it? Isn't it in sort of Morocco and all over the shop? What's your thoughts on that, Robert? I know they're spreading the game worldwide, but it just seems to be logistically a bit of a nightmare somehow.
Well, I think that's the key. The key part is it a fair playing field for every country that takes part? Because if I look back at some of the comments I've seen about the distances travelled by particular countries across this World Cup, England, by a long, long way, had furthest to travel out of any of the four semi-finalists. Now, I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just looking for a fair playing field. So if you've got teams that have got to travel significantly further across the globe to different parts of the world, effectively, in different time zones, which is a lot of people haven't made much of the fact that we obviously went to Mexico, not so much for time zone, but for altitude. And then you've got to adapt again back to the American altitude. But you'll have time zones to travel across in this next World Cup. That's a massive thing for people to adapt to in what will be a very short period of time, no doubt, between games. So I need to see the logistics first before we can say whether it will work or not. But I certainly have my reservations based on what's happened this time around.
I mean, they've clocked up the air miles, Dave, haven't they? I mean, you will know, it's not a short trip from, I don't know, Atlanta to New York, New Jersey. I mean, it's quite a long time, isn't it? So it does take it out of you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And don't forget that England played in Dallas for their first game. But I think, honestly, in the States, I mean, air travel within the States is quite common. And so I think, yes, England had to go to Mexico, but I think probably the teams were quite used to that. And it was okay to travel, a few hours on a plane, get here, there. England, I think from memory, their training camp was, I was in Tulsa, 4 hours south is Dallas, 4 hours north is Kansas City, where their training camp was. So, yes, a lot of training, and those players probably will be exhausted, but they're professionals. They have to get on with it, and whatever cards you're dealt, you have to play with them. So we'll see. I think a quick word from Morocco. I mean, what they got semi-final, didn't they? 4 years ago. They've had a good tournament this time. They're not to be messed around with anymore, are they? And so if they've got it, fair play to them. They deserve it.
I think actually it's fair to say, Phil, that an African nation will win the World Cup at some point, won't they? I mean, they're getting stronger all the time, aren't they?
I said earlier, I thought Senegal should have gone further than they did. They were a class side, and the standard is not just the odd African team now. There wasn't really a really weak African team in the competition this year. They were all, giving teams a good game.
Right, that's the World Game done and dusted then for another 4 years. We've got the Euros in 2 years, I suppose. That's the next competition to look forward to. But, of course, we've got domestic football coming up. Right, on Saturday, Rob, we got Bristol City at home in a friendly. We lost 5-1 at Crystal Palace last Saturday, lost at Chippenham last Tuesday. I know you were there. Not great, was it?
No, there was only a smattering of first-team players, you have to say, in that Chippenham game, wasn't there? And they were spread across both halves. It felt more like it was an exercise to look at trialists and to look at the younger players as to see whether they would be potential squad makers rather than necessarily looking for a result. But we all want to see some encouragement, don't we, for the new season? And so far, that's been a little bit short in supply. I'd like to see us with what you would hope would be a more settled side on Saturday. I know the side against Bristol City, against Crystal Palace, was certainly for the 60 minutes was more like a first team 11. And for the second half of the first half, by all accounts, we gave Crystal Palace a very good run for their money. So you have to look at it and think at the moment, is it giving Ian Holloway the preparation time he's looking for, and is it going in the right direction? I think only he can answer that at the moment. I want to see the gaps in our squad completed as soon as possible. You know me and jigsaw puzzles when it comes to squads at the start of the season. I want the squad together before the season starts. I don't want us hanging around at 10 o'clock for the fax machine on transfer deadline day to sign 3 players when we're already 4 or 5 weeks into the season.
Although we will be. We will be.
We'll be sat there watching it, but you know what I mean. The deadline day should be there to find that one player on top of what you've already got. It shouldn't be there to be wholesale changes to what's already a squad that started the season. So I think at the moment it's still too early to say, but I'm beginning to get a bit nervous that we haven't got all of our jigsaw pieces in place yet.
Adrian's made a very good point, actually. Mexico had 0 air miles. They didn't win it. Fair point. They played all their games at home. Dave, I don't know if you managed to catch up with Exeter, how their pre-seasons go. They played at Truro, I think, on Saturday, didn't they? So I guess you're the same as any Swindon fan. You know, you want Exeter to get their team ready for the opening game of the season.
Absolutely. I will say that when you hear a club like Oxford, I think, are having a few problems, aren't they? You know, you're thankful that you've got a local team that you support and you love, and, you know, Swindon and Exeter being great examples of that. And I think they're looking forward to playing Swindon as well. I think Exeter are going to be quite a young team. They've made a couple of signings. Lad from used to play for Shrewsbury. I think it's just so difficult to say how it's going to go, isn't it? And, you know, the pieces of the jigsaw come together, all the training, the conditioning, all that kind of stuff. But and then the small matter for Exeter of Plymouth Argyle away for their first game in the cup.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that, you know, we all want our teams to do well, but aren't we glad that we've still got a team to support?
You mentioned the O word, so I'm gonna. This is the only red cardboard card I've got anywhere near it, so just gonna put that there. Dave, you mentioned the O word on a Swindon blog, so anyway, there you go. We take your point. No, we've got Plymouth away, of course, as well in the EFL Trophy. Phil, that's to come in November. Obviously, the first game is at Cardiff, a repeat of last year's EFL Cup match, which had so many ramifications on our season that we didn't see coming. What are your thoughts on the squad so far?
Well, I was very stupid on Saturday. I splashed out £19.91 to watch it online.
Wow. So how much it cost?
Yeah, because you had to buy a 4-match package, their pre-season package.
Wow.
To watch it. But I was pleased I did, because the first 60 minutes, the team that played there, after a slow start, really did show some real hope for the future. Holman scored a tremendous goal. He really was the Holman that we saw at the end of last season, but I think he seemed better. The new signings, Virtue, Clark, and Dabao and Negro all seem to be good signings. Kilkenny played well. He seemed to be recovered from his injury from last season. Drinan, he needs the right service. The sorts of balls he needed were over the top, and if we did it over the top, we did it too long. The young lad Millard played on the wing, and he actually played quite well. Ripley looked a bit stiff. The goals that the penalty that he had given against him was never a penalty. Even their commentators said it wasn't a penalty. But Glatzo was working his guts out all the way through, as he did last season. He missed a sitter from 1 yard, somehow got it over the bar, and Drinan missed a penalty. At half-time, we should have been in the lead if we'd taken our chances. So I was quite optimistic after what I saw. They were certainly pressing, as Holloway has been asking of them. And Palace had quite a number of first-teamers on display. they didn't like what they were doing to them, and they were really going. And the second quarter of the first half, as it were, we were all over them. And the commentators kept commentating how Holloway was doing the commentating, because all they could hear was Holloway shouting the whole way through.
There's no shock there then.
Yeah. The trialists were disappointing.
Peter says, will the Bristol City game have different teams for each half as per friendly so far? At some point we need to play as normal league game with same 11 and just regulation number of subs. Of course, got Leyton Orient at home on Tuesday night as well, next Tuesday. So I would imagine, Rob, they've got to get pretty close to what they see as their first team, wouldn't you, by then?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because your last pre-season friend is Forest Green, and you wonder whether you'd want to necessarily go with a first choice 11 against a non-league side your last Saturday before the season starts. I would think that first 11 are more likely to play in that Orient friendly than necessarily will play at Forest Green. So I think that's the one probably to look at the moment, but we'll see. I mean, it's the one thing we can say this year with more certainty than any other season, certainly in the recent past, is that we've had a good number of games against quality opposition in pre-season. We've bemoaned for years now the standard of most of the teams we play in pre-season, not getting us ready for when the real action starts. We can't use that as an excuse this time round. They're going to have had plenty of opportunities against good quality teams from leagues above us. So we should end this pre-season in a good position to start our league campaign. Obviously, with the cup tie being the first match of the season, that gives you a few more options. But I'm hopeful that a proper pre-season this time around will have given us a better grounding to start the season on the front foot this time around.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dee, gentlemen. And thank you very much, Dee, for being part of our World Cup panel. It's been very interesting to get through the summer discussing top quality football at the World Cup and managing to keep this going throughout the year. Dave, thank you very much, Dee, for joining us. We wish the Grecians all the very best for the forthcoming campaign. Jack Bycroft, of course, former Town goalkeeper and scorer of the goal of the season, if I remember right, for Exeter City last year with that fabulous header. Yeah, we wish him all the very best and the City as well. And you kick off against Plymouth, so that can't be bad. So, Dave, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's been great to have you along. And we'll catch up with you when we are due to play Exeter again. Is that okay with you?
That is fine. We'll play home and away. And then how about we predict that Swindon will play Exeter at Wembley for the playoff second League Two final?
Don't do that to me, Dave. Don't do that to me. That would be too much to bear, really. But anyway, it's a nice thought. That's a long way off, of course. Lots of football to play. And I've noticed that the birthday girl is back with us. Again, happy birthday to you for tomorrow, Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I've already been celebrating this afternoon, so carry on tomorrow. So, yeah. You're only 61 once, aren't you? So there you go.
Long time ago, Chris. Long time ago.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thank you for our guests. And we will see you next Monday after the Bristol City game. And then look forward to the Tuesday night when we welcome back Richie Wellens. So
we do. Yeah.
There you go. So thank you very much, everybody. Take care and see you soon. Bye.